So before we start, my name is Ju Yi Lim, and I am a dietetic intern from Illinois State University. And I've been here at Crossing Healthcare with my preceptors, Elizabeth, Amy, Jen, and Ellison, for a couple weeks now. And today I get the honor of taking up some of your lunchtime, but hopefully giving you what is good information on how you can begin deciphering through all the food marketing labels you see on the market. So let's start off with, just imagining, or you might not even have to imagine yourself, you've seen these all over. What are some of the food marketing labels that you usually see on packages when you go to a store? For example, are there any labels you look for when you're trying to choose a healthy food? What are some things you've seen?
Organic, all that. I see that one a lot.
Organic is definitely one that's popular.
All natural.
All natural, that is correct. It's very prevalent. Any other ideas? Organic, all natural. Anybody seen the gluten-free label anywhere?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Gluten-free, preservative-free, non-GMOs. It seems like every passing year there are more and more products and more of these labels, that are out there. And I don't know about you, but sometimes walking into a store, it can be very overwhelming, right? You just want to make a healthy choice, but you're seeing all of these different labels, all of these messages, telling you something is palm oil free, or wheat free, or grain free, or gluten free, and you're like, are these things bad for you? Are we supposed to be avoiding them? Or is organic supposed to be better for your health? What if I'm eating a food with a GMO in it? What would it do to me? So all these labels can be pretty overwhelming and stressful to the consumer. And you might think, okay, these labels, they seem to be there to help you make the healthy choice, but not all of them are helpful. Let's be honest. A lot of them, unfortunately, are actually empty marketing claims that serve to kind of grab your attention when you're walking through the store and not so much telling about the value of the food, right? And granted, some of us are genuinely looking for organic produce because of our personal values, how we feel towards the environment. Or some of us, may genuinely be looking for non-GMO products because of how we personally feel towards genetic engineering. But the problem is, most consumers, most of us out there just want to make a healthy choice. And a lot of us fall for the trap that having these labels automatically mean that the product is more nutritious, healthier for us. So today, we're going to learn how we can cut through the clutter of empty marketing claims and how to tell if the food is actually good for us. So let us start off by talking about some of the most common ones, beginning with organic, right? What do you think organic means? Any ideas?
That it was grown with no fertilizers and things like that.
That it was grown with no fertilizers, no pesticides,
Right.
common conception. See, the thing about organic is that, okay, first of all, yes, when you think about organic, it has everything to do with the environment, right? The meaning organic is basically referring to foods or agricultural produce that has been produced using methods that promote the cycling of resources, ecological balance, conserve biodiversity. And the good thing about the organic label is that it's one of the few labels actually regulated by the government, by the USDA. So if you look at foods with the certified organic, USDA organic label, it's kind of tiny here, you can't really see. It's on your handout, the big green, white, brown circle. That label means that the food has been produced according to USDA organic standards. So what do the standards look like? For example, in growing produce, you're not allowed to use most synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, no sewage sludge, no irradiation, no genetic engineering. So organic produce or food products, by default, do not have GMOs in them. The thing is, most people fall for the misconception that organic also means no pesticides and fertilizers. there is an approved list that the USDA publishes where it lists out specific synthetic pesticides and fertilizers that cannot be used. But organic produce they do still need pesticides and fertilizers. They just use whatever is approved. That is mostly natural, and only a few synthetic ones are allowed. So they do use pesticides and fertilizers just based on a very restricted allowed list, if that makes sense. So that is for produce. And if you're talking about animals, livestock, antibiotics are not allowed, growth hormones are not allowed, and they're only allowed to feed on 100% organic feed. But when you're thinking about nutrition-wise though, organic doesn't necessarily mean that the product is more nutritious than the non-organic conventional counterparts. For example, research has shown that although organic produce, might have some higher level of nutrients, but the differences between an organic carrot, for example, and a conventional carrot, like the nutrient content, even though organic might be slightly more, it is so marginal, the difference is so small, that when you're eating it into your body, it's basically the same thing, right? It doesn't make that much of a difference. Eating an organic produce doesn't give you a significant health advantage over a conventional produce. So what people need to understand, I think, is that the term organic doesn't tell you that the product is more nutritious for you. It does tell you how the product is produced, environmentally more sustainable. So if that is something you care about, organics might be a good choice for you if you can afford it. Otherwise, if you're just looking for nutrition-wise, you'd be fine with the conventional ones. All right, another popular one, natural. What do you think natural means? When you look at a product that says, for example, I have this thing that says natural California raisins. Now, what are you expecting from this product? What do you think it tells you?
Not man-made.
Not man-made. Not artificial.
It's really a raisin.
It's just right. It makes you think. If this is labeled natural, are there non-natural raisins out there that I'm eating? There's no such thing. And the silence. When I ask what natural means, it's also a question that has been very debated. Among the community and even in the FDA, the government now. There is no legal definition or regulation for the term natural, right? Unlike organic, there's no regulations companies have to go through to consider their product natural. Generally speaking, it's understood to me that nothing synthetic or artificial, no artificial preservatives and flavorings or coloring products can be added into the food. Not that they don't have these things, it's just they have natural sources of that, whatever that means, and not artificial. But, because it's so vague, there is no agency that says, this is what natural should mean, and so if you want to call your product natural, this is what you have to follow. There's nothing like that of the sort. So, really, the term natural on food products doesn't tell us anything at all. It's just a nice word to somehow grab your attention, make the product a little bit more glorified for what that might be worth.
Puffing
it up, basically, is what it is. All right, and then we're just going to touch briefly on GMOs. Anybody here know what GMO stands for?
Genetically modified organism.
Bingo! Genetically modified organism. And we see a lot of products with the non-GMO or GMO-free labels nowadays. And basically, when we're talking about GMO in the food supply, it's basically talking about crops that have their genes changed using genetic engineering rather than the traditional crossbreeding methods, which takes a lot longer time. This is something that can be done through technology. And a lot of these reasons is because why are things genetically modified in the first place? For the very same reason that things have been crossbred traditionally, to improve crop resistance to pests, crop tolerance to climate. Somehow in certain places, where their food supply is at stake because of a certain crop that is so vulnerable to drought. This is where GMOs can help, make that crop last through the more harsh climate so people there have food to eat. And a lot of the debate about a lot of the controversy surrounding GMOs is its safety. Because GMOs, I think they've only been around for like 20 years or so. There's not much reason. It's not a very long time for studies to look at long-term effects of GMOs or for consumption. But what we do know that the research thus far has shown us that GMO foods are as safe for consumption as non-GMO foods, right? But somehow with the GMO-free labeling, a lot of fear has been created surrounding that. And there's actually not as many GMO foods as people might think. Only 13 crops, I think, as listed, have GMO varieties, have GMO versions, and only a few of these are common in the US, like soybeans, corn, sugar beets, canola, and cotton, for example. So if you're looking at walnuts, for example, nuts that says non-GMO on them, well, what are you expecting? There's no GMO version of nuts. Like, nuts by default are non-GMO, so it's kind of redundant on the nut packaging. But then again, having that non-GMO label on like a package of walnuts drives that cost of the walnuts up compared to another generic package without the label on it. So, again, with GMOs, it boils down to personal values and preferences. Some of us, and it's valid, some of us don't feel very comfortable taking in something that might have gone through genetic modification, and that's completely okay. But in terms of nutrition and safety, there's just no evidence to show that non-GMOs are better for us. Alright, finally, we're going to talk about gluten-free. Anybody knows what gluten is in foods? The cool thing about gluten is that, well, what many people don't realize, a lot of people fear gluten because of the gluten-free labels, but it's actually an important component in foods because it kind of acts like a glue to maintain food's textures together. That's why if you're comparing gluten-free roll compared to a traditional dinner roll, the gluten-free roll can be crumblier because there's no gluten to hold it together. Gluten is a natural group of proteins found in wheat, rye, and barley and triticale, these 4 grains. And really, there's no reason why people should fear gluten unless you are somebody with celiac disease. If you are someone with celiac disease, basically it's an autoimmune disorder where your body overreacts to gluten. When you consume it, it kind of mounts its immune response and damages the intestinal lining, and that's when you get like GI symptoms like cramping or diarrhea or bloating, yada yada. And like celiac disease individuals would do well to stay away from gluten. But for the rest of the population, going gluten-free really isn't really a health advantage for us. Yeah, so that is gluten-free, and that's why if you walk down the gluten-free product aisle, if you don't have celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, there's really no reason for you to buy those more expensive products when you can get possibly healthier and more affordable options elsewhere. Alright, now we are going to look at 2 of the handouts that you have. So first handout you have is this roadmap summary of what we've been talking about. We're going to do a little activity now. On one handout you will see first a picture of a Clif Bar, and on the back you're going to see a picture of its generic counterpart, a great value generic brand protein bar, right? So on the other handout, you're going to look at 2 nutrition facts labels along with the ingredient list. Now, this activity here, I want you to take a guess, right? Look at these nutrition facts labels and the ingredient label list. Guess which one belongs to the Clif Bar and which one belongs to the generic bar. Anybody want to take a guess? Which one belongs to which?
The one that has 250 calories is the Cliff Bar,
Okay,
I think.
okay.
That's what I picked, yeah.
450 calories. What about the ingredient list?
Didn't even look.
Yeah, I just read the.
Calories said it all right there.
What about the ingredient list? Which one do you think belongs to which?
The ingredients that are the peanut, dark chocolate flavoring coating, those go with the great value ones, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the ingredients and all the organics listed there actually belongs to the Cliff Bar. Bingo! You got it!
One has 5 servings. One has 18 too.
I'm scared anyway.
So if you look at the Cliff Bar, right, this is a very typical product with a lot of labeling on it. You know, everybody knows Cliff. Everybody, I think it has this, it's created this impression that Cliff equals healthy, Cliff equals superior. If you want the best nutrition, go for Cliff Bar. Why settle for Nature Valley or Great Value or Millville or whatever? You know, Cliff is where it's at. When you look at the front of packaging labels, Cliff here boasts that it's non-GMO, that is made with organic rolled oats. And on the front package it says nutrition for sustained energy. It also costs a lot more expensive. It's 90.8 cents each per bar if you buy this in bulk, compared to the Great Value Chewy protein bar. So it doesn't, this Great Value generic brand, you know, you can see it doesn't really have that much labeling on it. It does say it's naturally flavored, whatever that means, but it's just a simple bar, and it's only 50 cents per bar. But if you compare nutritionally, which do you think is healthier for you, or which is the better option for you?
Great value.
Very Great Value. Any other ideas? Any thoughts?
Well, when you read it, this other one sounds like it's way more nutritious.
Yeah. Which ones?
The Cliff Bar.
What
But
kind
I
of?
guess it isn't, because I was thinking organic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, makes me think, oh, well, I would rather have the organic one. So when they list everything organic.
I think when you look at it, the difference in the two and like your carbs and even sugars, they both vary, but I think it looks like the Great Value one.
Those are really, really great points, you know, that you all make, right? You know, like, sorry ma'am, can I get your name?
D.
Miss D. Yes, like what Dee mentioned, right? The word organic, you know, in the ingredient list just gives it this health halo, like this glorious glow over Cliff Bar compared to Great Value. But as you mentioned earlier, despite all the organic ingredients in there, we talked about how organic really doesn't make a difference nutritionally for us. You know, organic rolled oats versus conventional rolled oats, they're basically nutritionally the same. And if you're looking at the nutrition facts, right, you were also right that Great Value is a better option for most of us. It's only, when you look at the Cliff Bar, for example, 250 calories. If you look at, it has 4 grams of fiber, you know, which is okay, not bad, but it has 21 grams of added sugars. That's 41%, almost half of our daily value. And just for dramatic effect here, you turn around, this is the nutrition label of a Hershey bar, or a Hershey milk bar. This Hershey milk bar has also 21 grams of added sugar. Essentially, the Cliff Bar has the same amount of added sugar that you can find in a Hershey milk bar. Cliff Bar, you know, is really not that much better than a chocolate bar for you. Compared to the Great Value one, only has 190 calories. It is higher in fat, but that's because it has peanuts in it. You know, some good healthy protein there. It has 6 grams of fiber, that's slightly more than Cliff Bar. only 5 grams of added sugar and 10 grams of protein compared to 9 grams of Cliff Bar, but you get the idea, big picture wise. And if you look at the ingredient list, the ingredient list, it actually lists the content of ingredients from the highest to lowest content. So the first ingredient you see is actually the ingredient with the highest content in the food product. Look at the Cliff Bar. Organic brown rice syrup is number 1. There's more rice syrup in here by weight compared to rolled oats even. You have organic cane syrup, which is pretty out there too. Whereas for the great value bar, at least your first ingredient is peanuts, not sugar. Organic brown rice syrup is still sugar, it's still added sugar. So nutritionally, all this to say, to cut through the clutter, cut through all these overwhelming number of labels, look to the nutrition facts label and look to the ingredient list. This is where you will find the most objective nutrition information to help you get to know, look past all these labels. Is this product really healthy for you? So that is our most important takeaway from today. Let me see. Just some closing thoughts here. Alright? Again, not to say, take away from today, we're not saying that all the products with a lot of labels are bad. And like I mentioned, for people with celiac disease, gluten-free labeling would be important to them. For people who care, organic labeling would be important. Non-GMO labeling would be important. But if you're looking for nutritious foods, these labels don't necessarily translate into better nutrition for you. And oftentimes, because these foods with these labels tend to cost higher than similar foods that cost much less, for example, the energy bars. Before you're immediately drawn by the labels, look at the pricing, look at the nutrition facts label, look at the ingredient list, and figure out if that product is really your best option. Alright, so do we have any questions so far? Any lingering thoughts, comments?
Well, I noticed that Cliff Bar has all those vitamins and minerals in it, and the other one doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't make that one more nutritional because it has the vitamin iron, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C.
That's a
I mean,
really
if you
good
were wanting to
observation.
get extra vitamins, would you choose that bar then?
That is a really good observation. Yes, if you were to get extra vitamins, this Cliff Bar does have a lot more vitamins than like this great value might have. But if you look at the amount of added sugars here, and you can think, you could get these vitamins from just eating more fruits in a day. Have a fruit as a side, in addition to your breakfast bar. And then you'll be getting a lot more fiber and vitamins from the fruit, and much less added sugars, as compared to just eating a Cliff Bar, which will probably last you for like 30 minutes before you become hungry again. And again, nutrition is so individualized, right? We're not saying that this Cliff Bar is a bad choice for everyone. If you're about to climb a mountain, you're about to go on a marathon, the Cliff Bar is actually a pretty good option because all those added sugars, is instant energy for you. However, if you are, for example, working in a desk job for the day and you just need something in the morning to go, you're probably much better off with a great value bar and like cherries or berries to go with the breakfast, which will hold you over for longer because fruits have more fiber in them and without all these added sugar in it.
So the biggest thing to look for is all the sugar. Basically, to make something more nutritional, you should pick the one that has the less sugar and not worry about these other things.
So the important thing about nutrition is that you want to look at the full picture. So it's not just the sugars that you're looking at, but you're also looking at the calories, you're looking at the fat, the sodium, the protein, the fiber. For most of the population, right, yes, there is a limit to added sugars. Added sugar recommendation, I think, is about 10% of your daily value. If you look at the product and it says 5 grams of added sugars or less, that is a good choice for product low in added sugars.
If it says what?
If it's 5 grams of added
Oh,
sugars,
5 grams.
or less, that is a good choice for low in added sugars. If you're going for healthy options, right, just the basic principles. Low in added sugars, high in fiber, low in saturated fats, low in sodium. Those are the good hallmarks of what a good product would look like.
So labels
Mhm.
are strictly there to compare. You wanna just look at 2 like products, and the label helps you decipher which one's the better choice. So when I'm thinking, oh, vitamins and that, all of that,
Right,
the thing of it is we're taking 2 bars and we're looking at the nutritional value of each and picking the healthier choice.
okay,
That's how you use a label.
okay.
Does that help?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I think all of this helped.
Thank you very much, Addison. That was a very good final point to make. Just highlighting again that you look past all those marketing labels, because the most objective nutrition information is not on the front packaging. It's actually the small print on the side. The fine print that nobody really looks at. But this is where you go for your nutrition information. All right. Well, that is it for our Lunch and Learn today. Thank you all for spending half an hour of your lunchtime with us today. Stay tuned for what's next for our Lunch and Learn topic next month, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you all.
Thank you.